You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. There is a sacred truth that waits patiently for you to hear it beneath the noise of memory, beneath the noise of pain, beneath the clutter of old stories you've told yourself again and again until they've shaped your entire identity. And that sacred truth is this: the past is not who you are. It is only who you were convinced to believe you are. We live in a world that has taught us to tether our sense of self to timelines. This is who I am, we say, pointing backward to a broken childhood, to a betrayal, to the years we were unseen, unloved, misunderstood. But there is no freedom in chaining yourself to a story that no longer serves the evolution of your soul. The past is like a wake behind a boat, shows where you've been, but it cannot steer you forward. It has no power unless you reach back, pick it up, and place it over your face like a mask. So many souls walk this earth in suffering, not because of what happened, but because they won't let what happened stop happening. They replay it, rehearse it, reaffirm it, until it becomes a costume they wear so tightly they forget they were ever anything else. But hear me, there is something within you that was never hurt, never abandoned, never unloved, never broken, and that part of you, that divine eternal presence, is your truest identity. You are not the frightened child. You are not the failed relationship. You are not the financial loss, the addiction, the mistake, or the moment of collapse. You are not your trauma. You are not your depression. You are not the echo of someone else's inability to love you. You are the soul who survived, the breath that kept going, the consciousness that chose to keep waking up every morning, even in the dark. You are the observer of all those moments, not the moments themselves. But here's what the ego does: it tries to build a kingdom out of memory. It clings to identity because identity feels safe. Even if that identity is steeped in pain, it is still familiar. And the ego would rather have a predictable prison than an open, unknown sky. To stop using the past as your identity, you must first recognize that it was only ever a teacher, not a sculptor. It shaped moments, yes, but it was never meant to define your essence. Pain shows up in your life as a mirror, as a message, as a master, but it does not have to become your home. Imagine walking through a forest and tripping over a rock. You fall, scrape your knee, and it hurts. Do you stay on the ground for the rest of your life pointing to the stone? Do you carry that stone in your pocket forever, telling every person you meet, this rock is who I am? Or do you learn where it lay, stand up, dust yourself off, and walk on with greater awareness? When you identify with your past, you are trying to live life looking in the rearview mirror. And the soul does not move backward. The soul is always now, always forward, always present. The soul cannot even see the past unless the mind drags it there. Every time you say, this happened to me, ask yourself, but is it happening now? Most often, the answer is no. What's happening now is peace. What's happening now is silence. What's happening now is the beating of your heart and the rise and fall of your breath. What's happening now is life a new canvas, but your thoughts may still be coloring it with the old brushstrokes of yesterday. Let me remind you of something sacred. You were born whole. You came into this world not as a product of pain, but as a vessel of light. And though the world may have tried to convince you otherwise, though it may have tried to rename you with its labels and limitations, it cannot touch your essence. Not truly. Your soul is untouched by suffering. It simply witnesses. It simply learns. It simply evolves. You have the power right now to return to that essence, not by erasing the past, but by releasing it. Not by forgetting what happened, but by refusing to allow it to narrate your present. You are the author now. You hold the pen. The chapter has ended. Why are you still rereading it when the page is blank and the ink is still wet? Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It's about saying what happened no longer owns me. It's not about them. It's about your liberation. It's about untying yourself from the anchor that's kept your soul from rising. And If you think you need closure before you move forward, let me tell you something gently, but clearly, closure is not something you get from the past. Closure is what you give yourself by no longer needing anything from it. The moment you stop waiting for an apology, for understanding, for justice, for healing from the one who hurt you, that is the moment you become free. The past is not a prophecy. It is not a verdict. It is not a prison. It is a place you passed through. And the only reason it continues to feel real is because you revisit it so often that you forget to see where you are now. Think of it like this. You are standing in a beautiful field, flowers blooming, sky open, birds singing, and yet you keep looking down at an old photograph of a storm. You keep describing the storm. You tell others about the storm. But if you would only lift your eyes, you would see that the storm has passed. Your pain was real, yes. Your heartbreak was valid. Your tears were sacred. But your spirit was always stronger than the wound. Do not let the wound become your name. You have been calling yourself by the names of your scars, but your true name is peace. Your true name is joy. Your true name is I am, not I was, not I broke, not they hurt me. Just I am. The past cannot survive in the light of full presence. Every time you step into the now, the chains fall away. Every time you choose gratitude, every time you choose stillness, every time you choose self-compassion, you are reminding yourself that this is who you are. Not the version of you who had to survive, but the version of you who now gets to thrive. The world around you may keep bringing up who you were, but you don't have to answer to that name. You can say, that was a chapter. I'm not erasing it, but I am no longer reading it. And when the mind tries to pull you back, because it will, you gently say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe now. That story is over. I choose peace. You are not obligated to carry pain just because you once held it. You are not disloyal to your past by outgrowing it. You are not arrogant for choosing healing. You are brave. This world needs more souls who have dared to release the roles they were cast into and step into the freedom of presence, who have stopped introducing themselves by their wounds and started radiating their wisdom instead. The ones who no longer bleed on people who didn't cut them. The ones who turned their hurt into insight, their sorrow into depth, and their history into higher ground. You are one of those souls. You don't have to wait another moment to begin, not after the next book, not after the next apology, not after the next therapy session or healing ritual. You can begin right here by saying, I am not my story. I am the soul who observed it, who lived it, who learned from it, and who now releases it. The ego may resist. It may say, but who am I without my pain? And that is the question. That is the threshold. Because once you remove the story, what remains is truth. And truth is simple. Truth is love. Truth is breath. Truth is that you are already whole, already divine, already worthy, not because of what you've endured, but because of who you've always been beneath it all. Now breathe. Let it go. Let yourself risen not as a reaction to your past, but as a response to your soul's invitation to be free. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And right now, in this moment, you can choose peace. You can choose to stop using the past as your identity. You can choose to come home to yourself. You can choose now, and now, and now again, because this moment, this eternal now is where your true life lives. And the past will let go of you the moment you let go of it. What would your life feel like if you woke up tomorrow with no memory of who you used to be? Not in the sense of forgetting, but in the sense of no longer carrying the emotional weight of it. What if all that remained was this moment and the fullness of being present with it? Can you imagine the lightness in your chest, the stillness in your thoughts, the soft freedom of not having to explain your pain anymore. So much of human suffering is not in the moment, it's in the remembering. And not just the remembering, but the identifying with what is remembered. A wound is not just a scar, it becomes a name tag. A mistake becomes a sentence, a betrayal becomes a worldview. You begin to see life not as it is, but as you were hurt. But the divine does not see you through the eyes of your history. The divine sees you through the eyes of your essence. It knows only the truth of who you are underneath the layers you've gathered to protect yourself. It sees the eternal flame that flickers even in your darkest hour. It whispers gently every time you're quiet enough to hear, "You are not your timeline. You are timeless." Let me say this again. You are timeless. You are not the events that happened to you. You are not the age at which they happened. You are not frozen in that year, that room, that night. You are the consciousness that passed through it all and still miraculously remained. And what a miracle that is. That despite the weight, you continued to move. That despite being misunderstood, you sought to understand. That despite being unloved in some moments, you never stopped yearning to love. That's not weakness. That's divinity remembering itself through you. So how do we stop using the past as our identity? We begin by watching our thoughts. Without judgment, just with awareness. Every time you say, "I always do this," pause. That's not your identity, that's a pattern. And patterns can be released. Every time you say, "People always leave me," stop. That's not your truth, that's a wound speaking. And wounds can be healed. Every time you say, "I'm just the kind of person who," listen to how your words are casting a spell over your life. What you affirm becomes your reality. And if you keep affirming your pain, you will keep living inside it. Instead, begin speaking from the present truth of who you are becoming, not the ghost of who you were. Say, "I am learning to stay. I am remembering that I am loved. I am discovering that I am enough. I am shedding the skin of who I was told to be. I am here now, free." This is not about spiritual bypassing. It's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it be the script that writes the rest of your life. There is a difference between acknowledging the wound and identifying as the wound. One brings wisdom, the other breeds imprisonment. What if, instead of repeating the narrative, you honored the lesson? What if, instead of saying, "I was abandoned," you said, "I was taught to find wholeness within"? What if, instead of saying, "I was betrayed," you said, "I was shown where not to place my trust so I could learn to trust myself"? The meaning you give to your past is the power it has over your present. You get to redefine the story not by changing what happened, but by changing what you believe it means about you. The caterpillar does not mourn the skin it shed. It does not grieve its days of crawling. It simply surrenders to the transformation. It allows the becoming. And that becoming means releasing everything that no longer serves its wings. You too are here to fly. You too are in the chrysalis of evolution. And your past, as painful as it was never meant to be your cage. It was meant to be your cocoon. Every wound held the seed of awakening. Every heartbreak cracked you open just wide enough for light to pour in. Every silence you endured trained you to hear your own voice with clarity. You do not become who you are in spite of your past. You become who you are because you chose not to be limited by it. But you must choose again and again and again. Because the mind will try to pull you back. The ego will whisper, "Don't forget what they did. Don't trust. Don't change." Because change means ego death. And the ego would rather wear the crown of pain than risk the vulnerability of rebirth. But you are not your ego. You are the vast, infinite awareness beneath the ego. The sky, not the clouds. The ocean, not the waves. The stillness beneath the noise. When you stop identifying with the past, you begin to live from that space of stillness. And from there, every moment becomes new. Every encounter becomes sacred. Every breath becomes a doorway to the now. There is no one moment of healing. Healing is a way of being. It is the decision to show up again and again, not as the wounded self, but as the witnessing self, not as the victim, but as the soul. And when I say soul, I mean that eternal, changeless, luminous core of you that has never been touched by trauma, that part of you that remains untouched by time, that part of you that looks through your eyes and says, I have always been here. That part of you is where the power is. And you access that part by being still, by listening, by letting go of the need to explain yourself to others, by dropping the need to be understood, because the soul is not interested in being understood, it is only interested in being aligned. Alignment is peace, alignment is presence. Alignment is saying, I don't need to hold this pain anymore just to prove it existed. Because it did. It existed, and you survived it. Now it's time to stop surviving and begin living. It's time to stop rehearsing the story and start writing a new one. It's time to take off the mask of the past and reveal the face of your true being, radiant, calm, eternal. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. You only need to remember it. You do not need to fix yourself. You only need to remove what was never truly you to begin with. All that shame, that's not yours. All that fear, that was learned. All that guilt, that was inherited. Let it fall. Let it drop like dead leaves in autumn. You don't have to explain why you're changing. You just have to be willing to change. You are not abandoning your past by evolving. You are honoring it by growing beyond it. The past is a chapter, not a prophecy. A footprint, not a prison. A teacher, not your name. So stand now in your fullness, in your truth, in the blazing light of your now. Feel the presence of life not as something happening to you, but as something moving through you. The past cannot enter here. The present is too powerful, too alive, too spacious. And the more you practice presence, the less room there is for old stories. The more you practice forgiveness, the lighter you become. The more you practice compassion, the less you cling. And the more you remember who you truly are, the more the illusion of the past begins to dissolve into the light. There is a space inside you that has never been wounded. A space where no betrayal can enter, no memory can stain, no fear can grow. That space is the silent witness behind all experience. And it's from that space that you are invited now to begin again, not as someone escaping the past, but as someone no longer chained to it. Imagine just for a moment that your entire life was a great stage play. Every person who hurt you, every moment of loss, every heartbreak, they were actors in your soul's theater, playing their part not to defeat you, but to awaken you. What if your suffering was never punishment, but invitation? What if it all existed not to keep you down, but to bring you to this precise threshold where you finally say, I remember now, I am not the character, I am the consciousness behind it. You do not have to keep performing the same role just because you've memorized the lines. You can walk off the stage, you can take off the costume, you can bow in gratitude for the role that taught you strength, and then walk into the next act of your life, unburdened, open, whole. But to do that, you must do something radical in a world addicted to suffering. You must give yourself permission to be free. You must stop waiting for the world to release you. It won't. The people who hurt you may never admit they did. The past will never suddenly rewrite itself. The healing is not going to come from out there. It will come the moment you decide, I no longer identify with this version of myself. That's not forgetting, that's not pretending, that's reclaiming, that's awakening. That's stepping into the truth that your spirit is not a victim of time, it is a creator of it. And creation begins in this present moment. When you say, I am not my past, you are not erasing your story, you are simply shifting your authorship. You are saying, yes, that chapter shaped me, but it no longer defines me. And that is the moment everything changes. That is the moment you begin to write again with the ink of possibility rather than the blood of repetition. Let yourself change. The past may resist. Your ego may grieve. The people around you may question who you are becoming. That's okay. That's expected. When a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't explain itself to the old scales it left behind. It simply grows silently, surely, naturally. The soul is not interested in your history. It's interested in your liberation. And liberation does not come through control, through analysis, through endless digging for why. It comes through surrender, through stillness, through finally allowing yourself to be more than what hurt you. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as simple as not reacting the way you used to, as simple as choosing peace when chaos knocks, as simple as smiling when you once would have shut down. This is what the past cannot touch: your present awareness, your capacity to choose again, your ability to love anyway, to rise anyway, to forgive anyway. Forgiveness, you see, is not just a gift to others sit, is the final key you hold that unlocks the prison of your own pain. It says, I refuse to keep dragging this weight into every room I walk into. I refuse to bring old storms into new days. When you forgive, you are not saying what happened was right. You are saying, my freedom matters more than my resentment. Because resentment is heavy, bitterness is heavy, anger is heavy, and you were never meant to carry so much weight. There is a lightness in letting go. There is a purity in saying, I am no longer the person who needs this story to feel worthy. You are worthy without it, worthy without the suffering, worthy without the label, worthy without the justification. Let me say this clearly and lovingly. You don't owe anyone your suffering. You don't have to keep your pain just to prove how deep it ran. You don't have to relive your trauma just to feel valid. You don't have to stay broken just because someone once told you that was your name. You can rise quietly, gracefully, fully. You can be reborn not into someone new, but into who you've always been beneath the wounds. This is your spiritual inheritance. This is your birthright. This is the divine remembering itself through you. And yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes stillness. Yes, it takes truth. But everything your soul longs for exists on the other side of identity, on the other side of the story. The moment you say, I choose peace instead, you realign with the essence of life itself. Because life is not interested in your resume of pain, it's interested in your ability to be here, right now, alive, awake, aware. Every morning, when you open your eyes, you are being born again. The world may be the same, but you are not. Every breath is a doorway back to now. Every heartbeat is a reminder that your essence has never been defined by circumstance. You are not what happened to you. You are what you are becoming in this very moment. You are a soul in motion, a spirit in evolution, a being of light wrapped in human form. And you are allowed to outgrow everything that once kept you small. You are allowed to stop telling the story. You are allowed to just be, to walk into a room without needing to explain your pain, to sit in silence without needing to be understood, to laugh again without guilt, to dance again without fear, to love again without protection. Because the truest healing is not in becoming someone new, it's in finally remembering who you were before the world told you to be something else. That version of you, the one beneath the stories, that is the you who is whole. That is the you who was never lost, only covered by the dust of memory. So close your eyes for a moment, breathe. And in that breath, hear the still whisper that says, you are safe now. You are whole now. You are free now. Let it echo. Let it settle into your bones. Let it replace the noise that once screamed your name in pain. Because you are no longer what happened. You are the healing that followed. You are no longer the story. You are the space it unfolded within. You are no longer the victim. You are the vast, unshakable witness. And the witness does not cling. The witness simply is. So breathe again. Smile gently. And remember, the past is a place you visited. It is not where you live. So now, take a breath, a deep, conscious breath, the kind that isn't for survival, but for remembrance. Let it move through you like a wave of light. Let it whisper to every cell in your being, you are no longer what happened. You are what you choose to be now. You see, healing doesn't mean the past vanishes. It means you no longer carry it as your name. You no longer offer it to the world as your introduction. You no longer give it the power to determine what comes next. Because what comes next is yours. Entirely clean, unwritten, not predicted by yesterday, but shaped by your presence today. And maybe that's the greatest spiritual act of all. Not climbing a mountain, not reading another book, not waiting for a thunderbolt from heaven. Maybe it's just sitting quietly and saying to yourself, I do not need to be the person my pain made me. I can be the person my soul has always known me to be. Let the silence, after that truth, be your sanctuary. Let it wash over you. Let it sink in. Because no matter how heavy your story has been, no matter how far back it stretches, no matter how many pages were written without your consent, the pen is in your hand now. And with it, you can write something new, not in reaction to your past, but in service to your peace. You can wake up tomorrow and no longer recite the old roles. You can meet the mirror with gentleness, not judgment. You can walk into your relationships not as the person who was wounded, but as the person who has learned to love from wholeness. You can live unburdened. And I say this not as philosophy, not as metaphor, but as deep, sacred truth. You are not your past. You never were. You are not the identity built from pain. You are not the roles you were given when you couldn't defend yourself. You are not the mask you wore to feel accepted. You are not the weight you carried to feel real. You are light. You are awareness. You are love. You are the presence that watched it all and now chooses to let it go. You are the divine wrapped in skin. And the past has served its purpose. It brought you to this threshold. It broke you just enough so that something deeper could open. It challenged you just enough so that surrender became possible. It bruised you just enough so that you'd stop running from stillness and start listening to your soul. So now, thank it. Yes, thank it. Not for what it did, but for what it revealed. Not for the pain, but for the clarity that followed. Not for the suffering, but for the seed of awakening that suffering contained. And once you've thanked it, bless it, then let it go. No need to carry what no longer helps you fly. No need to wear the old name when your spirit has outgrown it. No need to live life looking backwards when your heart only beats in one direction forward. This is the moment, right now, this breath, this stillness, this quiet miracle of being. Let it be enough. Let it be home. Because when you no longer use the past as your identity, something extraordinary happens. You remember who you've always been. And that remembrance is freedom. There is a great illusion that quietly governs so many lives. A silent myth we inherit, not through conscious choice, but through the habitual repetition of thought. And that myth is this, that the past, the wake behind us, somehow determines where we are headed. That the trail we leave, the mistakes we've made, the wounds we carry, the identities we've assumed, these are the engines of our future. But let us begin this moment, this breath, with a radical truth. The wake does not drive the boat. Close your eyes if you can. Feel the energy of that statement, not just with your ears, but with your being. The wake is nothing more than a trail of disturbed water. It is the evidence of where you've been, not the force that carries you forward. The engine is now, the rudder is choice, and the sea ahead is untouched, limitless, unconcerned with what lies behind. The ego, however, lives in reverse. It worships history. It tells you that who you were is who you must be. It reminds you again and again of what hurt, what failed, what was said, what was done, and it sells you the lie that these echoes determine your destiny. But the soul, the soul is not interested in echoes. The soul speaks in whispers of potential, not the noise of regret. It nudges you forward, always forward, never backward. You are not your story. You are not your name. You are not your wounds. You are not the patterns of your parents, nor the failures of your youth. You are not your mistakes, nor are you your achievements. You are not even your thoughts. You are the awareness behind it, all the vast, infinite presence that watches the play of memory without becoming it. We must awaken to this. No amount of looking behind you will ever steer you forward. No amount of regret will ever open the gates of freedom. You are here, now. And this moment, this sacred, unrepeatable now, is your access point to power. The divine does not live in your memories. The divine lives in the aliveness of presence. Let go of the identity that was constructed from the past. It is not your truth. It is merely a shell, a costume, a temporary role played in the theater of time. You are not here to repeat scenes. You are here to awaken, to remember the eternal, changeless spirit that you are, to return to the knowing that you are more than the circumstances you've survived. Imagine a boat gliding across the water, behind it, a churning white trail. That is the wake, chaotic, visible, but utterly powerless to move the vessel forward. If you were to ask, what makes the boat move? Would you point to the wake? No. You would point to the engine, and the engine is within you. It is your thoughts, your focus, your choice to return to the present. It is your decision to drop the heavy bags of resentment, blame, and shame, and instead lift your hands to the sky of possibility. And yet, how many of us live as if the wake has control? We say, I can't love fully because I was abandoned. I can't succeed because I failed before. I can't forgive because I was hurt. But hear this, these are not facts. These are decisions dressed as conclusions. And any decision made in fear can be unmade in love. Forgiveness is not for the past. Forgiveness is freedom from it. And when you truly understand that the wake does not drive the boat, you will no longer be chained to what was. You will begin, finally, to live what is. The mind, when left untrained, is like a boat without a captain drifting wherever the winds of memory take it. But your soul, your higher self, is the captain. It is the still point of clarity. And when you surrender the illusion of control, the illusion of certainty, the illusion of being right, something miraculous happens. You begin to glide through life with grace. This is not passivity. This is power. It is the sacred power of surrender, not surrendering to defeat, but surrendering to truth. And the truth is, the past cannot be changed, but your relationship to it can. The past is not your prison. It is your teacher. But you must stop worshiping it as if it is your identity. Release the need to retell the story of your pain. Drop the need to explain your limitations. Let go of being the victim, the struggler, the one who almost made it. These identities are just anchors in the water. The moment you untie from them, you sail. You were never meant to drag your history into every present moment. Life is not asking you to carry your old self. It is asking you to rise, to evolve, to awaken to the beauty that is here, now, always. What if today you stopped rehearsing your regrets? What if today you refuse to be defined by your suffering? What if today you looked at your wake, the broken pieces, the sorrow, the lost time, and you whispered, "Thank you for the lessons. Now I choose to move on." This is not spiritual bypassing. This is spiritual responsibility. It takes courage to move forward without dragging the past behind you like a worn-out coat. But I promise you, freedom lives on the other side of that release. You cannot sail to a new shore if you are anchored in a harbor of pain. You cannot hear the voice of your soul if you are always listening to the echoes of yesterday. And you cannot create a life of joy if you are addicted to the narrative of suffering. You are not here to be a historian of your wounds. You are here to be a creator of healing, a builder of beauty, a vessel for peace. You are not the storm. You are the ocean, vast, deep, unshaken. Let go of the fear that if you release the past, you'll lose who you are. That fear is a lie. You will not lose yourself. You will meet yourself maybe for the first time. You will meet the self that was never broken, never small, never lacking. The self that existed before the story, before the wound, before the name. That self is not moved by opinion, not confined by time, not disturbed by change. It is divine. It is eternal. And it is you. You've been taught to identify with the marks left by life, the scars, the memories, the bruises of time. But I invite you now to shift your gaze. Look not at what happened, but at what is emerging. The wake is gone, the present is alive, and your soul is ready. You can choose to live with the engine of your awareness fully ignited, charting a course that is not dictated by fear but inspired by love. Or you can keep looking behind you, hoping that certainty lies in the familiar. But hear me now. What is familiar is not always what is true. And what is true is that you are free. You are free to release the guilt, free to forgive yourself, free to step out of the costume you've worn for so long and say, I am ready to return to the truth of who I am. And who you are is not the wake, it is the wave, it is the wind, it is the witness to it all. Do you know what the wake truly represents? It is not only your past actions, it is also your past reactions, your interpretations, your judgments, your internal dialogues about what occurred. The past is not just what happened, it's what you told yourself about what happened. And that narrative is what keeps so many souls bound to sorrow. But here's a powerful truth. Interpretations can be changed, and when they are, the emotional chain to the past dissolves. You can look back and see betrayal, or you can look back and see the unraveling of illusions. You can see rejection, or you can see redirection. You can see failure, or you can see refinement. This is not delusion, it is perception infused with wisdom. It is choosing to see with the eyes of the soul rather than the lens of the ego. The ego clings to wounds as proof of identity, but the soul sees every event as a stepping stone, not a gravestone. We are not here to preserve the past. We are here to be transformed by the now. There's a moment, subtle but holy, when you realize you can drop the rope that's tied to that thing someone said, that event that didn't go as planned, that year you lost yourself, that version of you who didn't know better. You can drop the rope, and you will not fall. You will float, you will rise. It is your clinging that weighs you down, not the past itself. The past is done, the moment has passed. But the clinging, the retelling, the recycling, that is what creates the heaviness. So the question becomes, are you willing to travel light? Are you willing to walk into this new moment without dragging every yesterday behind you like a sack of broken mirrors? Are you willing to speak to your own heart and say, I forgive you, not because you did everything right, but because I no longer want to live in punishment? Forgiveness is not weak. Forgiveness is the highest expression of spiritual strength. It is the power to say, I remember, but I no longer suffer. It is the ability to step into your life without the story dragging at your heels. It is looking into the eyes of your reflection and seeing someone who has grown, not someone who has failed. If the wake does not drive the boat, Then let us stop looking behind us when we steer. Let us stop consulting old pain for new direction. Let us stop returning to the scene of the wound and calling it home. The soul lives in forward motion. The soul does not repeat. It evolves. It flows like a river that does not apologize for its path. It does not ask permission to continue. It simply follows the pull of gravity, the gravity of truth, and that gravity is pulling you now, away from fear, away from shame, away from blame, and toward the infinite sea of who you truly are. Can you feel that pull? It's quiet. It's not the loud voice that says you should have known better or you'll never be enough. That's the voice of the conditioned mind. The voice of old programming, the voice that got its instructions from a society more invested in conformity than consciousness. The real voice, the voice of the self, does not shout. It whispers. It says, you are already free. You just have to stop telling the story of why you're not. There is no salvation in the story. There is only freedom in the surrender. Let go. Not in theory, not as an idea, but in this moment, right now, breathe in, let go of who you were. Breathe out, let go of who they were. Let it all dissolve like mist in morning light. The moment you let go, you are reborn. The moment you choose to bless the wake instead of curse it, you begin to rise. Because the wake has no more power over you than you give it. You are not a victim of your history. You are the creator of your destiny. But destiny is not written in memory, it is written in movement. And movement requires release. Release the need to understand everything that happened. The ego is obsessed with explanation. It wants to know why they left, why you failed, why it broke, why it didn't go as planned. But the soul knows that healing is not an equation. It's a letting go. It's a softening. It's a return to the now. Do you want to heal? Then stop rehearsing. Stop reliving. Stop waiting for closure from people who were never meant to complete you. Stop needing to know all the reasons. Life is not a courtroom. You are not on trial. You are free to walk out of the prison even if no one explains why you were locked up. Let go. Let go not because it erases what happened, but because it restores who you are. And who are you? You are awareness. You are peace. You are the witness of this moment. You are the presence that sees without judging, that loves without clinging, that breathes without resisting. You are not the character in the storm. You are the sky in which the storm happens. All pain is a resistance to the now. All suffering is a belief that this moment should be different. But when you stop resisting, the suffering ends. When you stop telling life it should have been another way, peace begins. This is the paradox. You gain control by letting go. You move forward by releasing. You arrive by no longer needing to arrive. You become whole by no longer seeking completion. There is nothing to fix. There is only something to remember. And what you must remember is that the wake is just water. It is not your identity. It is not your future. It is not your truth. You are the boat. You are the wind. You are the wave. And you are the captain. The choice is yours now, to continue pointing backward or to face the open sea with courage, to replay or to rebirth, to suffer or to soar. There is no right time, there is only right now. And now is always enough. There is a quiet revolution happening in your soul, a gentle rebellion against the tyranny of yesterday. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for applause. It rises like the tide, invisible but unstoppable. It rises not to destroy the past, but to transcend it, to outgrow it, to say, thank you for the experience, but I am not staying there. You were never meant to live in reverse. The mind, conditioned by the ego, obsesses over past errors and future fears. But your soul, it lives in the sacred now. It whispers truth into the space between thoughts. And its message is always the same. Return to presence. Let go. Be still. You are already home. Why do we believe the past holds more truth than the present, because we've been trained to measure life by memory, to believe that what happened is more real than what is happening. But reality is not in the mind's museum of yesterday. Reality is right here in the breath, in the beat of your heart, in the awareness reading these words. You do not have to carry the weight of old identities any longer. They are not who you are. They are who you thought you had to be to survive, to belong, to be accepted in a world that forgot how to see the soul. But you have remembered. You wouldn't be here listening if you hadn't. Something within you is stirring, cracking open. The truth of your being is emerging through the shell of your story. There are no justified resentments, not because the pain wasn't real, but because your healing matters more than your history. You cannot drink poison and expect someone else to suffer. You cannot cling to bitterness and hope for joy to grow. You must become ruthless in your forgiveness, not for them, for you, so that you can be light again. Let go of the idea that people owe you closure. That is the language of ego. The soul knows that closure is not given, it is chosen. It is an inner declaration. I will no longer wait for the past to fix itself before I allow myself to be free. The wake does not drive the boat. It may ripple, it may roar, it may foam with the memories of 1,000 storms. But it cannot dictate your direction unless you turn to follow it. And why would you, when everything you've ever sought is in front of you, not behind you? Peace is here, love is here, God is here, not in the past, not in the future, here. You've been taught that to change your life, you must work harder, try more, do better, but the truth is far more elegant. To change your life, you must change your relationship with thought. You must stop letting your mind bully your soul. You must return to the seat of your power, the stillness beneath it all. What if you simply stopped arguing with the past? What if you chose right now to bless it instead? What if you thanked every painful chapter for teaching you what love is not, so you could finally discover what love truly is? The wake cannot hurt you. It has no substance. It's made of movement, not matter. But when you replay it in your mind, when you rehearse the anger, the disappointment, the shame you give it form again, you breathe life into a ghost. And that ghost sits in the captain's chair and steers you toward more of the same. You are the captain. Reclaim the wheel. The mind may resist. It may say, but they were wrong, but I was hurt, but it's not fair. And that's okay. Let the mind protest, but do not let it lead. Let the thoughts come like birds, but do not build nests for them. Watch them fly and return to presence. Every day you carry your story is a day you delay your freedom. You are not bound by the events of your life. You are bound only by the meanings you've assigned to them. So revise the meaning. See your scars not as proof of suffering, but as evidence of survival. See your failures not as losses, but as sacred redirections. See your losses not as punishments, but as invitations to remember the impermanence of form. Everything that was taken from you has made space for what cannot be taken your soul. There is a deeper you that has never been touched by trauma, never bruised by betrayal, never lessened by lack. That self cannot be harmed. It is eternal, invisible, unshakable. And it is the you that drives the boat, if you let it. The wake may tell a story of brokenness, but the current of now, it flows with wholeness. It knows where to take you. It knows what you need. It knows how to heal you without your effort, without your analysis. It simply asks you to let go of control and trust the unfolding. This is the holy paradox. The moment you stop chasing healing, you begin to be healed. The moment you stop fixing yourself, you realize you were never broken. The moment you stop managing your life like a machine and start living it like a miracle, everything changes. Let it go. Let it all go. Not to forget, but to forgive. Not to ignore, but to transcend. Not to abandon, but to bless. And in that letting go, you will finally be carried. Not by effort, not by willpower, but by grace. Grace is the silent power that moves through your life when you stop trying to control the river. It is the divine GPS recalculating, rerouting, redeeming every moment you thought was wasted. Grace doesn't need a plan. It needs your permission. And when you say yes to now, grace floods in. It heals you in ways you never could have planned. It restores what you thought was lost. It rewrites the script in a language of peace. And all it asks is that you stop pretending the wake can lead you. So here you are, at the edge of yourself, not the self you've tried to protect or prove or polish, not the image you've curated to please the world or the narrative you've whispered to avoid discomfort, but the real you, the eternal, infinite, unburdened being you were before the story began. You've arrived not because you pushed harder, not because you fought your way here, but because something inside you stopped clinging. Something inside you chose the radical act of surrender. And in that surrender, you remembered the wake does not drive the boat. All along, the river was flowing. All along, grace was moving. All along, life was not punishing you, it was preparing you. And all along, you were already enough. You never had to drag your wounds like trophies. You never had to use your past as a passport. You never had to convince the world you deserved to move forward. You only had to remember you are the boat, not the wake. Let the tears come, if they come, not as sorrow, but as cleansing, not as grief, but as recognition. This is not the end. This is the return. This is the moment when the past unhooks from your spine and you stand finally without the weight of who you were. Feel it. The lightness, the spaciousness of this breath, the sacred silence between your thoughts. This is home, not the memories, not the names, not the explanations. This presence, this is who you are. You are not what happened. You are what remains. You are not the echo. You are the voice. You are not the history. You are the awareness watching it pass. You are not broken. You are the light that shines through the cracks. You are not the wake. You are the wind in the sails of now. And so I leave you with this. No matter what the world told you, you are free. No matter what your mind repeats, you are enough. No matter what happened before, the sacred now is untouched and it is yours. Go forward, not as someone trying to escape the past, but as someone who no longer needs it to feel real. Go forward, not as a survivor, but as a creator. Go forward, not because the wake is gone, but because you've stopped letting it lead. Sail now, not because you must, but because you can. Sail with trust, with openness, with grace. And when the past calls out to you, when it rises in the rear view like a familiar ghost, smile gently. Place your hand on your heart and say, I bless you, but I no longer follow you. Then turn your face toward the horizon, wide, wild, limitless, and step fully into the radiant now, because this is your time, and this is your truth, and this is your life. And finally, you remember the wake does not drive the boat.